Do you ever feel stuck, like you're living your life on autopilot? Are you ready to shift into high gear and reach the success you so richly deserve? Welcome to the Play Big Movement podcast. I am your host, Sharon Lechter, entrepreneur, business strategist, and best-selling author. Playing big is not about settling for good enough or being comfortable. It is about reaching your highest potential and achieving your greatest success. Join me in my Play Big movement as I interview top experts in business, money, and entrepreneurship, all ready to serve you and to help you play big, be number one in your field, live your legacy, and create maximum impact. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Now, I always say I have a good dear friend with me, but today I really do. Rita Davenport is not only a friend, but a neighbor. So we had her come over here instead of us being in two different locations and two different computers. And I've known Rita for, I don't know how many years, at least maybe 10?
At least. Yeah, at least.
And what an incredible career Rita has. And she's, you can't tell she's from New York City with her accent when she starts talking, but she is quite a dynamo, had her own television series. Television show, kind of had the idea and sparked the idea of the Food Network. She was Jolene in Dolly Parton's song. So this is Jolene, little did you know. But she's also been an incredible businesswoman with lots of different successes. But probably the biggest one is leading one of the top makeup companies to close to $1 billion in revenue. And I'm over all of it is her love of people. Yeah. And your love of humor, because she always makes me laugh.
Well, thank you very much. And it's great to be here. And you have such a following, and I'm in awe of all that you do and inspired and impressed. And I drop her name a lot because I can, make people very impressed to know me, to know that I know her. So you're amazing. So thank you for your friendship.
Well, Rita's also highlighted in Think and Grow Rich for Women. And you talk about really being a leading and shining example for other women. It's amazing. You've been retired from that company for how many years now?
I think it's about 7.
About 7 years. Yeah. And yet hundreds, if not millions of women still follow everything that she does because she made such an impact on their lives. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I want you to share, because if we talk about leadership, and your ability to make other people feel good about themselves. I just want you to share a little bit more about where you grew up, and then talk about leadership.
Thank you, Sharon. And it's great to have this time with you and these people that are watching and listening. I was raised in Tennessee in poverty, and that was my gift because I don't know how people can appreciate all they have if they don't know the difference. And I was raised being told, don't get your hopes up. I used to wonder, well, what good are low hopes? And I was honored when Success Magazine deemed me the hope dealer. And I think that knowing what it's like not to have much and how that can really hold you back if that's all you think about. When I was in a poverty situation, I knew, as Dolly Parton said to me when I interviewed her about her poverty, it was just temporary. I knew that I was going to have something someday to be excited about and look forward to. And that I was determined and I was persistent. And I'll be honest, I looked around my family, and my dad had maybe a 3rd grade education, could barely read and write. He never really understood how to spell my name. He would always have notes and journals and things he kept. It was just, I treasure those. And mother hadn't graduated from high school, a little bit more than daddy, but I looked around and I thought, I got to take care of these people someday. So I got to make something out of myself. And I didn't have a lot going for me. I mean, I wasn't at the top of my class, but I was social, Sharon. I was president of the junior high school. I mean, it was about 800 kids, and I was only in the 7th grade. But I would conduct the assemblies, and I was captain of the cheerleaders. I was a majorette and color guard and flag twirler. I did lots of things to make something out of myself to overcome where I grew up. And I'm not sure if I had been a trust fund baby or somebody that had a lot of money, if I would have had such a huge why. But my why was always make something out of yourself. And I was very, very focused, determined, and passionate to be a success in life. And I think 3% are born with that. And I do think I was born with that. And it can be a blessing or it can be a curse, because you're just always trying to figure out, what can I do? What can I do? Because
which is why you're still working really hard today.
Yeah, I am.
You know, both of us have talked about this. We could both have retired years ago, but it's like how retirement doesn't sound like much fun when we're constantly giving.
Yeah.
And she's the most generous person I know.
Well, first of all, if you retire, you expire, and retirement is not in the Bible. I'm not, Joyce Myers or Billy Graham and knowing all these things. I used to think Exodus was the last book of the Bible. That's how bad I was. But I think it sounded like it would have been a way to wrap it up myself. But anyway, I not that, but I do know that God sent us here with a purpose for our life. He gave us all the necessary skills and talents to fulfill our purpose. And your purpose is to get good at something and then give it away. And I have a little sign over my desk. By the way, it's great being at your house. It's like Tara. I love it. But I have a little sign over my desk that says, God is watching. Give him a good show. And I never want to have to say, yeah, I could have, but somebody said something negative to me one time and somebody made fun of me, and I didn't feel good about myself. I just have to keep saying, I interviewed Eddie Bracken one time in my local television show, and he said, Rita, and I was nervous because he was a celebrity. And he said, feel your pulse. And he said, that's the presence of God with you always. And you're never by yourself. You're never alone. And you always have that extra whatever you need, because that presence is so strong.
Wonderful. I love that. I've never heard you say that before. I love that.
And I use it. I'll never forget him saying that, because I told him, I said, I'm new in television. I didn't go to school to be in television or anything. And I said, I'm real nervous. And he said, feel your pulse. And it was amazing, the power that gave me. And when somebody puts me in a stressful situation, I love what Joel Osteen said, I'm not going to let you steal my joy, but I'll feel that pulse. And I got something a lot stronger than you is, with me right now. So that I'm never going to turn my power over to somebody else, I say, that's more messed up than I am, to make me feel bad about myself. So.
And we were talking before we actually started this about something that was going on somewhere else. And I love you said, we need to give a brain enema.
Yeah, I need to give myself a mental enema, and then go over to the commode and talk to it and describe what that person said or did to you, and then flush it. And then that's it. I'm not going to let you drag my day down anymore. That's it. So every once in a while, give yourself a mental enema.
That goes along with when I talk about outwitting the devil, and you've got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other. And when somebody comes up to you and says something that you don't like, you just reach your hand up there and get rid of it.
I love when you say that. That is a great, just brush that right off. Yes.
What is your trigger? Whatever works for you. But I like the pulse. That's pretty good. These are all new things. So you inspire people to be their best.
Yeah.
And you use a lot of humor in doing it, but share some of your thoughts.
Well, be your best. I love what you just said. First of all, be yourself. Now, be yourself at your very best. And I see greatness in people that they don't see. I look at an audience and I will say to people, do you have any idea how great you really are? Because people don't. And I'll say, how many of you made all the money that you wanted to last year? And by the way, I talk a lot about making money and prosperity. And I say, this was a full page in the Wall Street Journal and USA Today and all these different papers. This one quote that I had, money is not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen. Because I'll tell you, I've been rich and I've been poor. And poor is worse off than poor, by the way. And rich is better. And not just rich materially. I mean, some of the poorest people I know have a lot of money, but I mean rich in knowledge and spirit and enthusiasm and passion. And that's what I'm talking about. Aristotle Onassis said if he had his life to live over again, he's a very wealthy man. He said he'd do one thing different. He said, I would hang around rich people sooner, because rich people throw away more ideas in a day's time about how to earn money than a poor person will ever have. See, I can interview you, and out of 5 of your friends, I can tell you about what your income is. And once I had a dinner party at my house, and I wasn't making very much money, Sharon, and I was talking about goals, and I have, all kinds of training tapes and Venice tapes, CDs now, on goal setting. And this attorney that was very well off, he said, well, what is your goal financially? Now, this goes back a few years. And I said, if I can make $50,000. And I'll never forget what he said.
Quite a few years ago.
Quite a few. Okay. Not per speech, but quite a few years ago. A long time ago. Anyway, when he said $50,000, he said $50,000 a month is pretty good. And I went, he thinks I'm talking about $50,000 a month. All of a sudden, I had a kick in my giddy up because I thought, he thinks I'm talking about, I was thinking a year, but it changed my life. That statement, thinking that I could be making $50,000 a month.
Open your eye to the possibility. It's the power of association.
It's exactly.
Who are you hanging out with? Who are you allowing to feed up here?
And you have to sometimes bless and release people. And sometimes they're family members and you still love them and respect where they are. But you've got to be around people that share a common determination that you have. That's the reason your net worth is a result of your network. And you look at your network, you say, well, Rita, how do you expand that? Well, first of all, if you can't hang around rich people, and if you don't know people that are, cerebral and all this, then you read and you listen. And I get into my car and I'm in a rolling university. I am still listening. Because I've
rolling university. I love that.
Yeah, I that's exactly the way I feel, because it can be wasted time, or you can listen to so much negativity in the news. But I put in a CD and I get the greatest ideas, because I am still green and growing every day. I'm still learning. School is never out for the pro, and the more you learn, the more you're going to earn. And it's not about me. Rick Warren's book, Purpose Driven Life, the first 4 words, it's not about you. It's not about me. It's about what I can do for you and somebody else. Because in life, it's not what you get. I got so much. I'm so blessed. But it's what you give. That's the end of the day, is what you have given. If you don't have a lot of money, people say, Rita, I haven't, I had the best-selling books and all the speeches and then broadcast and all that. It's giving praise. It's giving recognition. I was backstage in Washington, D.C. for an event this past week, and they had a bathroom, and there was a woman cleaning the bathroom all day long. And you hate to tell something that you actually did, but I'd go in, I say, oh, you're doing such a good job. And I was drinking a lot of water, so I was going into the bathroom a lot. And she would have the paper pulled out for me to wash my hands. And every time, she was in that bathroom all day long. I gave her a hug, Sharon, and this is shameless for me to tell it, but I gave her a tip, and she said, nobody has, and it was kind of a good tip, nobody has ever done this before. I'm thinking, wherever you go.
Most people probably act like she doesn't exist. They just look right through her.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. And she, and when I'd go in, she'd say, you're so kind and you're so sweet. Well, she made me feel better than I deserved. And I thought, gosh, I should have given her more. But everybody you come in contact with, and people said, how did you build an amazing business? Well, I made people feel better about themselves, and I raised their expectation, because except for what you expect and what you believe and what you picture, you're not going to get much else out of life. And all of those things can be a result of negative programming, being around negative people. So if that happens to be your environment, you've got to learn to get above that and hang out with people like Sharon Lechter, people that make a difference in this world. And if you can't hang out with people like this, you can listen to the most amazing, I know on YouTube and all these things that's out there now. This is a wonderful opportunity. At least 20 minutes a day. Growth for your mind. Your mind has got to be constantly fed with ideas of how you can make a difference in this world. And you can. And don't ever hold back. If you have an idea, go for it, because you are here for a reason. And if you want to really feel good about yourself, it's when you're making a difference in your own purpose and you're helping other people. And whatever you give is truly what you're going to get. What goes around comes around. Something else, you meet the same people going down, you meet going up. So you be good to everybody you come in contact with, because you never know. I can give you so many stories. A friend of mine, his daddy owned a sawmill, and he had a kid that was sweeping up the sawmill. And the daddy said to my friend, you be good to him, because he said someday you might need him in your life. And it ended up that my friend Calvin needed to borrow several $1 million for a big project. It was very successful. But the president of the bank was the kid that used to sweep up the sawmill where his dad worked. And so I've always remembered that. Just be good to everybody, because what happens is that you feel better about yourself. It's almost selfish, actually. But be nicer than necessary. I had that little sign in my bathroom, be nicer than necessary, because you just never know the difference that you can make just with your kindness. And the more you practice this, the more it's ingrained in you, and it becomes just part of your existence. You're nicer than you know.
Well, and I want to jump in here, Rita, because there are a lot of people that are speakers, or a lot of people that do this, they don't necessarily practice what they preach. And I'm going to tell you, this gal does. There isn't a person that gets in her sphere that she doesn't acknowledge.
Oh,
always. And I love it, because you just told the story about the lawyer that made you raise your expectations.
Yes.
And now you give that back to everybody you meet. Right?
Exactly. And I tell people, whatever business you're in, you can always make it better. But people say, how? You put your whole self into it. And that's also biblical. I don't know exactly where it is, but I know putting your whole self into something, and you do what you don't want to do for a little while so you can do what you want to do forever. I'm working on a book idea now to pedal hard so you can coast. And I've had some bicycle accidents. I really love riding my bicycle, and I'm not great at it, but I do like to do that a lot. And I noticed, you have curves. You have to be careful falling. There's bumps in the road. You can't look back when you're pedaling a bicycle. You got to be real careful, and you've got to know that you got to pump hard to go up the hill, then so you can coast, but you still got to be in control. And you're going to have to. Anyway, I'm working on some ideas, but
and you heard it here.
Yes, that's going to be my new book. But anyway, I just feel like that. All of you have greatness in you. And if there's any discovery you can make, and I have all kinds of things I can run myself down about, but I still know that I'm here with a purpose and given everything I need to develop that talent. We all have gifts and we have talents. And my purpose is to give it away and make a difference.
And happily married for... You're coming on 52 years.
52 years, yeah. Yes. And he says being married to me for that long, it's gone so fast. It's like 5 minutes underwater. So see, you have to have a sense of humor to keep a marriage going that long. I have lots of stories. That may be another book.
Absolutely. Well, you also wrote a book that's been out a couple of years. It's called Funny Side Up.
Yes.
So they can get it on Amazon.
Yeah, they can get it on Amazon. And I have a website, www.ritadavenport.com. And I have, Sharon, I've been really listening to some things that I did when I did the infomercial. I did the second infomercial. Ever. Dr. Shad Hamster did the first one, and it was in 32 million homes. Someone said 50, but 32 million homes. And I listened to some of those the other day, and I went, I've got to study this again, because, if you don't use something, you lose it. So there's some great material there. So I'm being shameless to talk about that, and with all humility.
I actually reread some of the books that I wrote, and
yes.
I go, oh,
yes.
Yeah, I wrote that.
Yes. It's startling. You think, yes, because if you get away from something, anyway, I've been blessed. The greatest blessing is knowing people like you. But Sharon, I spent 15 years in broadcasting, and I got to interview Muhammad Ali, and I got to learn about affirmations. He had an affirmation, I'm the greatest. And an affirmation should have I am at the beginning of I am strong, I am determined, I am. And it's part of the goal setting that I teach. I am worthy and deserving. But he said, I was a poor black kid living in the ghettos of Louisville, Kentucky. But over and over again, I'd say, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest. And when I get ready to do a speech, I'll be backstage, and I center myself. I use a lot of Silva mind control and EST, and some of the things that I got to interview, actually, Jose Silva, in my broadcasting career. And I'll say, I'm the greatest, because Muhammad Ali said, I became the greatest boxer because I affirmed it. So listen to how often you say, I am so stupid. I am so, clumsy. Your mind only knows what you tell it. Your mind is this, it's like what you put in is what you get out. So be careful.
And your mind can't hold negative and positive at the same time. So if you're holding on to negative, thoughts about yourself, you're not making room for positive opportunities.
Yeah. Your self-talk is a whole nother training program for what you say to yourself. And goal setting and having gratitude and all the things that go with success. It starts out with why. I talked to my niece today about her business, and I said, so how big is your why? Would you be more successful if your children's lives depended on it? Well, yes, I would. I said, you never know. You've got to prepare for impact because you don't know what could happen. Something could happen to your husband. You could be absolutely homeless someday if you don't prepare for impact. So how people, you got your health, you got everything. The secret of happiness is good health and a short memory. And by short memory, I mean canceling out the negative things. But you just don't know what could possibly happen. So while you've got everything to work with right now, you need to prepare for impact. And, Captain Sullenberg, when he landed on the Hudson, and he said to his crew, and the passengers and the crew, he said to brace for impact. Well, I modified that a little bit, and he had a safe landing on the Hudson when the birds got into his engines, and I modified it by saying, prepare for impact. And by the way, he was a glider pilot. This wasn't the first time that he had glided into something, and he taught aeronautical safety. So Captain Sully had been preparing all of his life for a time such as that. You're sitting right now on a gold mine. All of you have ideas of things that you could do if you really, really wanted to. And the desire, I beg you to use what you got, help other people get what they want, and you will always feel good about yourself. You might not get anything back from the person that you help, but it'll come from some other direction. You will get in some way, you will be paid. I've done things for people, and then when I needed something, but there are people that have come up to me I've never done anything for, and they've been wonderful. And I say, okay, but I did for somebody else sometime, and it works. It works.
And you heard it here, because this is what she does. What you're feeling right now, you're feeling probably a little taller, a little happier, and
hold your shoulders back.
Yes, and realizing that we're all here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring Rita into the private Facebook group to go a little bit further, because we're going to talk a little bit more about that impact, because we sit here and we look like and we've been very blessed with success, but it's not. Success is not this. Success is up and down, and realizing that you have the opportunity to raise your expectations. I love that.
Yeah.
And really know that you have it in you to create the success you deserve.
Because on success is living your life the way you choose and knowing when to let go of things that aren't working anymore. Folks, it is more challenging to stay successful than it is to get there in the first place. So you just don't want to get there and idle. You want to say, okay, what's next? What's next? And, I don't have to do this, but what a feeling of self-worth when I see people come up to me and tell me what idea they got that helped them build their business, and how they learned about goal setting and time management and affirmations and all the things that they can really use on a day-to-day basis, and with their personal relationships too. Everybody's got an invisible sign. It says, make me feel important. And I promise you, people work harder for praises than they do for raises. That lady working in that bathroom the other day backstage, she was working that much harder because somebody noticed her.
And do you know how many times she shared the story about this lady that was funny that kept coming into the bathroom that really gave her a hug and made her feel good? She's probably told that story even more than you have.
I hope so. And just little things that you can do. You don't have to have all of this, but you have the ability to make a difference and make somebody feel better about themselves. What a gift you are to somebody else. And just stop and ask yourself, can I really be nicer than necessary? Because maybe I've been mistreated, but don't pay that forward. What you want to pay forward is the difference you want to make. Not just make a living, but make a difference.
Yeah, take the high road and know that that's where you belong. You can't let somebody else impact you. You allow that to happen.
Yeah.
You can't change them. You can only change yourself and how you react to them.
Yeah.
And certainly we've both been through that in our careers, where you have to make a choice. Do you let somebody else bring you down, or do you stay on the high road? So come back and see us in the private Facebook group, and I go back and re-listen to this, because gold mine. It's a gold mine. Gold mine.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this segment of the Play Big Movement podcast. Please subscribe to iTunes and leave us a review, as well as join us in other areas of social media, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Sharon Lechter, and for Facebook, author Sharon Lechter. Thank you so much and have a fabulous day.